The IRS just flipped the switch on a date that could decide when your refund hits, and most people are hearing it wrong. Before you get excited and start planning what you'll do with that cash, there's a catch the headlines leave out, and it's the part that can add weeks to your wait. So here's what's happening in plain English. The IRS has announced the day they begin accepting federal returns, Monday, January 26th. That's the starting gun for filing season. But filing season starting is not the same thing as money landing in your account. Not even close. People keep hearing January 26th and translating it to payout day. That's like hearing a restaurant opens at 5 and assuming your food arrives at 5:01. It doesn't work that way, and the difference matters if you're counting on this refund to cover rent, groceries, or that overdue bill. Do you need it fast, or can you sit on your hands for a while? Tell me in the comments. Now, a quick reality check. Not everyone receives a refund. Some folks get a big one, some get a small one, some owe instead, and some see basically nothing. But for the millions who do get a refund, timing is the entire game. Here's the baseline the IRS repeats every year. In normal conditions, they say give them about 3 weeks, around 21 days, to process a return and send a refund. And they basically warn you not to call them inside that window because they won't have an answer yet. You can use the Where's My Refund tracker after you file to see progress, but even that tool won't show much until your return is in their system. So if you're refreshing that page like it's a sports score, don't panic too early. The first phase is just they receive it, they accept it, and only then does the clock really start. Okay, but here's the twist that could slow everything down this year. Staffing and workload. There have been reports floating around about the IRS operating with fewer workers than before, and when the agency has fewer hands on deck, the line moves slower. That's not politics, that's math. Fewer people processing, more people filing, longer queues. And that's only part of the story, because there's a separate rule, actually a law, that creates a hard stop for a massive group of filers, even if they do everything right and submit on day one. This is where a lot of people get blindsided. If you claim certain credits, your refund can't legally be released until mid-February at the earliest. We're talking about the Earned Income Tax Credit and the Child Tax Credit. Many households qualify for one of them, sometimes both, and those credits can turn a regular refund into thousands of dollars. Sounds great, until you realize the calendar is not in your favor. Here's why. The PATH Act, yes, it's a real thing, requires the IRS to hold refunds for returns that include those credits until after February 15th. The idea is fraud prevention. The effect is delay. So even if you file on January 26th at 8 a.m., you still might not see a dime until late February or, more realistically, early March. Let that sink in. Filing early doesn't always mean paid early. It can mean you're first in a line that's still blocked by a locked door. A fast start doesn't beat a locked calendar. So what does early March actually look like? If refunds for those credit claims can't move until after February 15, and processing still takes time, you're often looking at the first week or two of March before the money shows up, especially if there are any verification steps, holds, or backlog issues. Does that feel like a long time when your bank balance is already tight? Now, if you don't claim those credits, you're back to the standard timeline, roughly that 21-day window after acceptance. But roughly is doing a lot of work there, because hiccups can stretch it out. A few common things can slow refunds: mistakes on the return, identity checks, mismatched information, missing forms, or filing methods that create extra manual review. And yes, if the system is overloaded, even clean returns can move slower. That's why people who are counting on a refund should think less like instant transfer and more like a processing pipeline. Now, there's another detail that can surprise people, especially those who are used to getting a paper check. Some reports and policy changes have pushed the government toward electronic payments, and many filers are being steered away from waiting on a physical check in the mailbox. If you're someone who loves that envelope moment, this next part is important. From what's been widely discussed, paper checks have been phased down or discontinued for certain refund distributions, with a big push toward direct deposit. The reasoning is straightforward. Electronic deposits are cheaper to send, faster to arrive, and less likely to disappear in the mail. Paper can get lost, delayed, or taken. Digital usually just lands. So when you file, have your direct deposit details ready, routing number and account number, so the system can send it straight to you. I'm not telling you what to do, I'm telling you what tends to move faster. And if speed is the goal, why choose the slower route? Now, I need to be clear before we go further. I'm not your accountant, I'm not your CPA, and I can't see your personal situation. Don't put private details in the comments. If you have questions about whether you qualify for EITC or CTC, talk to a tax professional who can look at your exact numbers. Okay, so what should you actually expect if you're filing this season? Expectation number 1. January 26th is the opening of the gate, not the payout. Expectation number 2. The 3-week refund estimate is a guideline, not a promise. Expectation number 3. If you claim EITC or CTC, the calendar forces a delay past February 15th, and that often translates to March money. And then there's the broader context, new rules, new adjustments, and policy changes that can make a filing season feel messier than usual. Some people have been talking about big tax bill changes going into effect, which can alter withholding, credits, and what refunds look like. That doesn't automatically mean you'll get more, but it can change expectations and it can change processing complexity. So if you're hoping for a big refund, here's a question to ask yourself. Is your plan built around a guaranteed date or around a range? Because ranges are safer. A date can break your budget if it slips. Hope is not a schedule. Systems run on timelines. If you're in the credit group, mentally prepare for the end of February into early March. If you're not, plan for at least 3 weeks after acceptance. And don't be shocked if it stretches longer. Now, I want to talk about something the competitor-style videos rarely say out loud. Anxiety makes people do dumb filing things. They rush, they guess, they skip double-checking numbers, and that's exactly how returns get flagged. So if you want your refund sooner, speed up the accuracy, not just the clicking. That means correct names, correct social security numbers, correct bank details, and matching documents. A single typo can turn a normal timeline into a drawn-out review. And if you're thinking, it won't happen to me, well, that's what everyone says right before it happens. Let's also address the big rumor energy. You'll see content claiming there's some gigantic hundreds of billions wave coming and everybody's about to get paid. The truth is more boring. Refunds are real, credits are real, but who gets what depends on individual returns. There isn't one universal payout button for all Americans. If there were, you wouldn't need to file. So when you hear sweeping claims, translate them into the real question. When does the IRS start accepting returns, and what rules delay refunds for certain filers? That's the useful version. Now let me show you how to track it without losing your mind. After you file and your return is accepted, the IRS refund tracker typically updates through stages: received, approved, and sent. But the updates are not instant, and they don't always refresh in real time. Checking once a day is plenty. Checking every hour is stress as a hobby. And if you're in the EITC and CTC bucket, remember, the tracker might show movement, but the release date still can't jump the legal barrier. So if it feels stuck, it may simply be waiting for the calendar to allow the next step. Now let's zoom out for a moment. A lot of people depend on refunds like a yearly rescue rope. If that's you, you're not alone. But because it's such a big emotional moment, the best thing you can do is plan as if it arrives later than you want, then celebrate if it arrives earlier. That mindset prevents panic. Also, a small reminder, refunds are not free money. They're usually overpaid taxes coming back, plus credits you qualify for. It's your money returning, not a lottery win. But it still matters, because timing changes lives. Before we recap, there's another layer people miss. Accepted is a specific status, not a feeling. When you e-file, the IRS runs your return through quick filters first: identity checks, formatting checks, and does the math make sense? Checks. If something doesn't line up with what they already have on record, your return can get rejected, or it can get routed into a slower lane for review. So 2 people can hit submit the same morning and live in 2 different timelines. Why does that happen? Because the first gate is automated, and automation is picky. Here's the practical takeaway. If you're waiting on a refund to keep the lights on, the best speed hack is preventing a slowdown. Double check the basics: names spelled exactly, social security numbers matched, W-2s, and 1099s entered cleanly, and your direct deposit numbers correct. One wrong digit doesn't delay you for a day. It can delay you for weeks. Now let's talk about a rumor I keep seeing. File on opening day and you'll beat the rush. Sometimes that's true. Sometimes filing early simply means your return is sitting in the building before the building starts moving fast. Are you filing early because you're ready or because you're anxious? That difference matters. And there's another calendar trap. If you claim certain credits, your return can be accepted early but still held later. That's the part that feels unfair because you did everything right and the money still doesn't show. It's not you, it's the rule book. One more factor, new rules can slow processing even when you personally didn't change much. When tax law adjustments kick in, new thresholds, new calculations, new forms, software updates, review steps, and validation rules can change too. More moving parts means more places for delays to appear, especially in the first few weeks of the season. And don't ignore the paper versus digital difference. If you mail a return, you're adding shipping time plus manual intake time. If you e-file, you're at least starting on the faster track. Same with refunds. Direct deposit is usually the quickest route, while anything involving the mail adds uncertainty. If your plan depends on the mail being perfect, you're betting your budget on the postal system. Also, a quick warning. If you're tempted by refund advance offers or instant cash ads, read the fine print. Sometimes it's a loan against your refund, sometimes it's a high-fee product wrapped in friendly language. If you truly need emergency cash, compare options carefully, because the urgency can cost you more than you realize. Finally, here's a calm way to think about the timeline. The date the IRS opens the door is not the same as the date your refund clears the hallway. Your job is to get through the door cleanly, then let the process run, without letting panic push you into mistakes. Ready for the recap? One more practical tip. If you're splitting your refund between accounts, triple check every routing and account number. One wrong digit can send money into limbo, and fixing it is rarely quick. Also, confirm you entered every W-2 or 1099 you received. Missing income can create a mismatch and push your return into a slower review track. If you moved, update your address so notices don't drift into an old mailbox. Seems tiny, right? But these little details often decide whether your refund glides through the system or stalls for weeks. Want speed or a correction letter? And if you're unsure, pause and ask before you file. That pause can save months later. All right, quick recap before we wrap. January 26th, IRS begins taking returns. Standard refunds, often around 21 days after acceptance, but that can stretch. EITC and CTC refunds held until after February 15th because of the PATH Act, with many people seeing funds in early March. And if you want the fastest delivery method, direct deposit beats waiting on mail. Now, one more thing, because a lot of you ask me about resources. If you're navigating major life changes, retirement, Medicare timing, or coverage questions, there are free counselors and licensed advisors in many states who can point you to the right options. I'm not selling you anything here. I'm reminding you that you don't have to guess alone. If that kind of practical guidance content helps, say resource in the comments and I'll know to make more of it. And if this video saved you confusion, do me a favor. Hit like, subscribe, and stick around on Winds of Thought, because we'll keep breaking down the stuff that affects your wallet without the fear-mongering. Last question for you. Are you filing on day one or waiting until you're fully ready? And why? Until next time, take care, stay patient with the process, and I'll see you in the next one.